Hello, BAME Farm fans. It is time. It is time to finally tackle the TW. I kind of cheated already. I have the lug nuts off. I have the front jacked up. And, all ready to pull the tire off. Well, time to see what we got going on in here. We've already seen this. If you saw the video out in the field, the sun shaft is messed up. None of the planet gears are in there. Nope. Kind of put a few gashes in the casting. These, ooh. The nubs are okay. Some of them are missing the inner race, which obviously it's not going to be there. And almost, it looks like, look at that, in the shadow, like the sun shaft came out too far and started grinding into that maybe. I'd imagine that would have some paint there, but that could have been after things fell apart and went totally haywire. Another thing I noticed, you can't see it with the wheel off. Oh, now you can. That's loose. Yep. And I don't know if that's because maybe I did loosen these bolts in the field and put them back in. So, yep. Well, let's go see what we got for parts. Hey, look, quail. Can you see them in the darkness? They've taken up residence in the barn. They're barn raised. They're not wild. They're from the hunting preserve behind us. But really what we're here for, looky what I found in a boneyard. It's a ZF APL 345 axle. It's not out of a TW. It's from a 7610, but it's the same model axle. And the whole goal is we're going to take a whole chunk. We inspected these at the boneyard. They didn't know they had this. We dug this out of a snowbank after I found the owner way up in northern Ohio. Because their computer didn't have it listed for a TW. The center gear ratio and the differential, I think, is a little different. But everything out here should be the same model axle. And we're gonna take it all because, you know, those bearings are loose. They got metal shavings in it. These look pretty good. We'll wash it out good, fill it full of oil, put it on, we'll be on our way. So once we get that side apart, we got to get this side apart. And it's easier to work on it when it's in the air, but this is our parts. And then we'll have the whole other side full of stuff and the axle all here, so we don't have to spend months finding parts next time. Hopefully we don't need more parts. But in this day and age, when nobody wants to stock anything, especially on this older stuff. See, I wonder 30 years ago or so, when M's and H's and your letter series were getting old, you know, how dealers were stocking parts on those when those were technically, I guess we'll say, obsolete by today's standards. You know, when you had the TW as an 83 model and it's almost 2023. Oh, I mean, that's almost 40 years old itself. It's 2022. Holy cow. Wow. Let's not put that into perspective. But if an H or an M was new in I don't know, what, 40s, roughly, maybe early 50s at the latest. So that puts that into perspective. That, man, that's something odd to think about. Okay, wrench time. Back to busting knuckles. This is the last time the fenders will be on the TW. I guess they look nice, but having driven it now without the fenders, they didn't do a whole lot other than obstruct your view. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'd catch some mud, but the tires don't throw mud on the cab. If they did, that means the tires would have to be set really close in, and then it would be hard to make a good tight turn because then the tires would hit the frame. So we have them adjusted to fit our row width, and there's no problems anywhere. I do like seeing the wheels turn too. It's just nice to know they're turning, even if there were fenders. I'm sure they would be turning, but I still like to see it. Eva wants to lend a helping tongue. She's always there and ready to help. Doesn't mean she knows what she's doing, but she just wants pets. That's her help. Emotional support. Which, I mean, this wasn't going too bad. I wasn't busting too many knuckles, but there was some things to figure out, like snap rings and in what order to do it. This is a bit of a layered intricacy of parts. Yeah, I just got to figure out to take the snap ring off the sun shaft. There's some hidden things that I can't see, like the sun shaft is held into the drive shaft coming out of the axle with a snap ring that's hidden sort of inside the shaft piece. Yeah, didn't think that was a possibility. This is a lot of excitement. Now, the parts axle hub is held on, or the ring gear is held on with one big nut, where this one has 8. And that one big nut allows some adjustability of the bearings in there that we can see inside the hub. Because remember how I said the hub seemed a little loose? Yeah, that must have been a revision by ZF. Really, the biggest revision should have been putting a larger axle on this tractor, which they did later, and I have discussed that.
Well, yes, isn't the rain lovely on the barn roof? So we learned some things, like there's that bearing at the bottom, that fell out. I guess it goes right up there in the darkness. Yeah, the sun shaft is eaten up. The teeth are not perfect in the ring, and then obviously there's no planets left. Based on the owner's book we have, and the fact that there is the printout of the parts diagram in the book for the front axle, somebody's been into these before. And as part of this process, we're going to get rid of that right there. All 1,300 pounds. We're way overweighted. I mean, there's the whole cast iron front bolster, the fuel's out front, there's a bunch of metal in the framing down there. This tractor's plenty heavy. We got a cast iron oil pan. I don't know if you can see that from here. There's plenty of weight, and if they're using this axle on a 7610, which is only a, let's say a 70 horse tractor, yes, unfortunately, this is the joys of getting like the first model year things they figured out after the second year, and they put a heavier axle in the 25s, and the TW25s came out with a much heavier one from the factory. It was a model APL 365. Yes, it's a little beefier, except I couldn't find one of those used, especially not in a good price range if it was, unfortunately. So we're going to rebuild this, lighten up the front end, and I'm going to try to find a bunch of casts for the back. But enough yik-yak, we need to get back to the fixing.